kitchen. So many recipes to share. So many cooks in the kitchen with meals for you to prepare. We've got fruits and grains, veggies and beans, more healthy food than you've ever seen. So many cooks in the kitchen, plant-based meals to prepare. So many cooks in the kitchen with ideas we're happy to share.
Hello and welcome to the July show of So Many Cooks in the Kitchen. My name is Dilip Barman in North Carolina. So Many Cooks in the Kitchen is a group of us who formed at the beginning of the pandemic, and we're still at it more than 50 shows later, more than 4 years later. We meet monthly, and for those of you who've been watching us for a long time, welcome back. And those of you who are new, welcome to you. We're so glad you found us. Each one of us is a Physicians Committee Food for Life instructor. The Food for Life curricula, we have various curricula, are focused on evidence-based nutrition and cooking. So we have a number of classes to keep us healthy, and we have classes that explore topics like diabetes and cancer, and we show you evidence about how eating whole food plant-based with limited fat can be a very effective way to manage these kinds of situations. So today we're going to talk about zucchini. Zucchini is, I find, kind of a take it or leave it. Some people love zucchini. I do. My daughter does not like zucchini. My wife likes zucchini. Some people say it doesn't have a lot of flavor. You can definitely add flavor to zucchini, and I like it kind of like a palette, a blank palette in which to build something upon. So zucchini is just a summer squash, and it's rich in, I'm going to look at a couple of my notes, it's rich in vitamin A. It gives you 40% of your recommended daily allowance of vitamin A. It's a good source of vitamin C, manganese, and potassium. Okay? So I'm going to be making today, I just got this a few hours ago from the farmer's market. This I got from just outside some rosemary. And you can see this is from the farmer's market. This was locally grown, organic, and this much zucchini added up to like $9, which was more than I thought it would be, but I was happy to support a local farmer. And there are different varieties. So here's a yellow zucchini, and here's a green zucchini. So also, by the way, at the farmer's market, I picked up this beautiful onion. So I'm going to use this in the recipe as well. This is a zucchini and tofu dish, and it doesn't require a lot of ingredients. So let's get started with the onion. So I'm going to be using some tofu. Let me just set this aside for a moment. And let me get the onion. When I cook with green onion like this, I chop the very bottom off, the root part. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to simply chop the onion, maybe every 3/8 of an inch or half an inch in length. And you use the white part and the green part. Now, if you don't have green onions or scallions, you can use, I like sweet onions, Vidalia, Walla Walla, Maui onions, those are all great. You know what else is good is red onion. Red onion's nice. I have some red onion. Red onion's nice because it adds color, because the zucchini is going to be light in color. So from a color point of view, I would pick the red, but I couldn't resist this fresh green onion from the farmer's market. Farmer's markets are great places to shop. I'm not an early riser, and those of you who know me know that's a great understatement. So as much as I like farmer's markets, I don't get to them as much as I'd like, because they tend to be early. So here goes the onion. No oil whatsoever. We've talked about this in past shows. We don't use oil. Oil is fat with really no nutrition. And the way I look at it is if I'm going to have some fat, I'd rather eat a little bit of chocolate or some olives instead of olive oil. I enjoy olives. I was just, while I was getting all my ingredients together, I was eating a couple olives. Okay, so there's the onion. This is going to really cook down if we let it cook for a long time, which since it's our show, I'm not going to let it cook for that long. And you might say, well, cooking without oil sounds good, but won't I get some sticking? Well, the trick is you want a high quality stainless pan and you want to stick to medium heat. You don't want to go to high heat. And I know you're not in the audience here, you're not in front of me, but I'm starting to smell a little bit of onion, and after another minute or so, it's going to be more pronounced. Okay? So there's my onion. And then I'm going to be using tofu and zucchini. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the zucchini in first. I have a choice with tofu. I decided to use baked tofu. This is a readily available product, at least where I live. It's easy to make. Did I ever tell you I'm a lazy cook? I've actually never made baked tofu, maybe once, but it's easy. You basically press your tofu, make a marinade, maybe some coconut aminos, maybe some ginger, maybe some garlic, and then you bake it. So why don't I do it? I don't know, I should do it. But this was on sale, and so I bought it. So this comes in different flavors. I use the savory baked tofu. I like it. It's a nice snack. My daughter loves it. You can just chop it, and let me show you what it looks like inside. It's so thick. So I don't know if you could tell, it gave a fair amount of resistance to my knife. Very tasty. It makes a great snack. Or you could use, and you can see there's no sticking, at least so far. Or you could use regular water-packed tofu, in which case you want to use extra firm. If you use water-packed tofu, what you want to do is you want to wash this, slit it open, drain the water, and then what I do is I press the tofu gently, and then not so gently, I press it more and more firmly, kind of like a sponge. And then, ideally, you want to wring as much water out as you can. You can get tofu presses. I have a press, which is metal, and you put this top on it, and after a few minutes, you push it down more and more. It's like turning the screws on a vise or something. But again, I'm a lazy cook, and I usually just do a quick press and I'm done with it. The more water you get out, the crisper it can get. So there is a trade-off about time and quality, but it comes out well. So there's my choice of regular tofu, but today I'm going to use the baked tofu. If I was using, and this onion is just sliding away, if you know Paul Simon. Okay, so there we go. I wouldn't mind a little bit more white onion, but I'm not going to bother to wash the onion. I'll throw the very end of the onion in. Okay. Let's get to the zucchini now. If I were cooking with the water-packed tofu, I'd put the tofu in now, and I'd do some stirring. But with the baked tofu, it's done. I'm basically going to add it to heat it. Right? That's about it. I'm not aiming to brown it or anything. I'm just trying to heat it up. So let's put a variety of zucchini, and you can chop it different ways. So let's cut the stem end off. Okay. And one thing I can do, which I won't, is I can cut it lengthwise and make kind of matchsticks. And that makes a nice mouthfeel. But it's a little bit harder. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make discs. About, I find in my cooking 3/8 inch is something I use a lot. So less than half, more than 1/4. So let's make some discs. And I'm going to go, since I have the green and the yellow, I'm going to go back and forth. So in you go. Zucchini, summer squash. You can also use crookneck squash. I like crookneck squash. I rinsed all of these, so I can just pick another one out. So I don't know if the farmer who grew this is watching. I mentioned about the show and thanked her for the produce. Now this one's a little bit wider in diameter, so I can, because I kind of want everything to be consistent, so I'm going to make my discs. That one got a little bit too big, but that's okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to half these once I do that, or even better, I can just go down like this. Okay? And now, my volume is going to be about the same as that of the yellow one. Okay. It's easy, it's soft, it's very easy to cut zucchini. Okay? Speaking of cutting, make sure you know where your first aid kit is. If you're cooking, then it's inevitable you'll get cut at some point. Some of you know I also teach math, and I actually teach math here. I'm at the Sanger Turkish Center, and last week one of my students needed a Band-Aid, not from cooking, and not from doing math. I don't know what happened to him. Okay, I'm going to turn the heat down. If you hear that kind of splattering, that means the zucchini is saying, wait, this is kind of hot. I don't want to blister, so turn the heat down just a little bit. And you can see already there's a little bit of browning, certainly in the onion, and just barely in the zucchini. Okay, you can see that one's dancing. That's saying maybe you're just a bit too hot. I'm less than medium heat. Let's put one more yellow one in. So here goes one more. Zucchini tastes good raw in my mind. I'm going to have a piece. I like it. A lot of people will say it's plain, but I like it. It's watery. It's a good snack. You can cut matchsticks, kind of like you eat cucumber matchsticks. You know, I'm going to excuse myself 1 second, because you know what happened is you should be careful when you're talking and cooking, and a little piece of zucchini came out. So from a hygiene point of view, if you're cooking for other people, be sensitive to that. You don't want to, and generally when we're home, it's not as big of an issue. Why am I talking and cooking? Because I'm talking to you. So do be careful of hygiene. It bothers me even if I'm cooking for myself. I don't like seeing that. Okay, so there's my zucchini. So I used, these were small zucchinis. I think I used 3, basically till your pan is covered. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the tofu. So cut it to a convenient mouth, to your mouth feel, which you think would be nice in your mouth. And I'm going to use one of these baked tofus, which is 7 ounces. If I were to use the regular tofu, I'd just use half the package. I'm so tempted to just eat the tofu. I love tofu. Easy dish. One thing you can do, which I like to do with zucchini, maybe I should have made this dish. If I had more time, I could have also made this dish. I like jerk seasonings. Jerk seasonings have pepper and oregano and a variety of spices. And I like sauteing zucchini and then mixing in some jerk seasoning. It's delicious, and the fiery seasoning goes well with the relatively bland zucchini. Okay? And now what I'm going to do, this was picked just outside. I've already washed this. I'm going to go ahead and I can half the rosemary leaves, but I'm just going to use my hand and kind of roughly pick at it so we expose some of the inside of the rosemary. Okay, so, you know, a couple, maybe a tablespoon or 2 of rosemary needles. And now it's getting done. The zucchini has so much water. That's what the bubbling sound is. Can you see the zucchini right here? How it's been cooking? It has some brownness. So we're at the point, and you can see a little bit of sticking, but not much. I'm basically done. So what I'm going to do now is, while the heat's on, I'm going to add some coconut aminos. You can use soy sauce, but it tends to be much higher in sodium. You can use tamari, which is usually a little bit better. But I'm going to use some of this coconut aminos. I like this because it's made from coconut and it's gluten-free. I wish I had just a little bit more. It's good for flavor. Since we didn't add so much, I'm going to add just a bit of salt. Not yet. But if I had more liquid, it would help with the deglazing and removing the sticking. But I also am going to add a little bit of lemon juice or lime juice that adds a freshness to the zucchini and also helps clean the pan. I'll tell you what, I have more lemon juice. Let's put some more since I didn't have so much coconut aminos. That's going to be nice and lemony. Sizzling. Oh, it smells really good. And you see how the liquid, especially the acid, helps clean up the pan? I'm going to turn the heat off now, actually. That lemon's going to add a really nice flavor. You can add some lemon zest. You can even add some orange zest if you want. And now, if I want, I can add some, a little bit more, perhaps oregano, but I'm going to add some black pepper. You can add some paprika, some smoked paprika, just a little bit of salt. And that's it. Easy, fast. Let's try it. I'm going to reuse my bowl that had lemon juice. I'll get a little bit extra lime flavor. It looks good. You can top this when you serve it with another sprig of rosemary. Let me find a fork. So there it is. Hands off. Easy. It's cooked. The zucchini is quite soft. I love it. It's very good. You can optionally add some garlic powder if you want. Try it. It's delicious. Easy, healthy, no oil. And spice it the way you'd like. You can make it more spicy if you want to. So next, did I mention that we have some giveaways today? And please ask questions. I'll be back behind the computer momentarily, but others, if you've been asking questions, hopefully have been able to, I'm sure they've been able to answer. At the end of the show, we have a Q&A, and if you ask questions then, you'll be in the drawing for a giveaway. I think Susanna's next. Susanna Dickman in Indiana. She's going to be making spiralized zucchini noodle pasta. Take it away, Susanna.
I'm Susanna Dickman. Welcome to my kitchen. I'm so excited that you are spending your Saturday with us. I'm from Evansville, Indiana, and you can follow me at Eat Plants Be Well, or I'm both on Facebook and at my website, and also join my husband and I on most Mondays when we cook a plant-based recipe for Meatless Monday Evansville. Today I'm going to make one of my favorite ways to use the zucchini that we grow in our garden and that our neighbors grow in our garden and they gift to us. And that is to make spiralized zucchini noodles. I already had spiralized, this is about 2.5 zucchinis. So I'm just going to show you, I bought this little spiralizer a number of years ago. I don't even remember where I got it, but it's just fun. Of course, if you don't have a spiralizer, you can just chop your zucchini, but you can see it makes it into really long strands, so I like to just kind of break them. So when you're eating, you don't have, like when you're eating spaghetti, you don't have to have a long strand of spaghetti and just slurp. But this recipe is simple, but it's so good. And I'm just gonna go ahead and cut the other pieces to put in there. So let me move my spiralizer out of the way. This recipe also, I'm going to show you the ingredients I use. If you're missing an ingredient, add something else. You don't need to use just what I am. But I'm going to go ahead, I slice my onion. I think every great recipe starts with an onion. And I'm just going to put a little sprinkle of water. My pan was set to medium high. So I'm going to let my onion cook for a little bit. Let me move that out of the way. Oops, I think I just launched an onion on the floor. Well, I'll be sure and pick that up when we're all done. I just want my onion to get a little bit warmed before I throw in my other things. And the other ingredients that I'm going to use are garlic. I think I have maybe 3 or 4 cloves of garlic. Of course, if you are not as much of a fan of garlic, you can add less. I just really like to add more because it's just so good. Let me add just a little sprinkle of water. I don't want to add too much because we know that zucchini has a lot of moisture in it. So we're going to get some moisture from that. The next thing I'm going to add is a diced tomato. Hopefully tomatoes are abundant in your garden this year too. Now this wasn't a whole tomato, I just had a little bit left from our dinner last night and I decided just to throw it in. So, obviously you can use yellow squash for this recipe. You don't have to put in the tomato because we also are going to add a sun-dried tomato. But just sometimes I'll add mushrooms in here. And of course those, because they take longer to cook, I will put those in a little sooner. But the last thing I'm going to put in is my zucchini. Because I like my zucchini to be a little bit, I like it to be firm. I don't want it to be too cooked. So let me go ahead, and like I said, this was about 3 small zucchini. Let me go ahead and get that in and get it stirred up a little bit. I'm going to reach under here and get a lid because I want to keep the moisture in here. So I'm going to put the lid on so the zucchini can go ahead and start to, that's really big, but so the zucchini can start to steam. And then this is about a 1/4 cup of sun-dried tomatoes. You'll notice I didn't add any salt or pepper. I prefer to wait and have people add that at the table. But honestly, with the sun-dried tomatoes, they bring such a umami flavor that you really don't need salt or pepper. Okay, I mean, you really don't. If you want to sprinkle a little pepper, I'm going to also sprinkle a little vegan Parmesan that I make myself. And I use hemp seeds and nutritional yeast and a little bit of salt. And that's it. And the hemp seeds with the nutritional yeast, I just think that that's awesome. So I just put a little sprinkle on that. I'm going to let these cook for a minute. Again, I like my zucchini to have some, I want it to be cooked, but I want it to have a little bit of texture too. So I will just let it sit for a minute. How do you serve this? Here is a salad that I plan on eating for lunch, just with some greens, and I have a few sprouts that I had left and some red onion. And so I like to put this over my salad just to add more veggies. I will eat this mixture warm, or I will even eat it at room temperature because it tastes so good. If you want to add a little more protein or fiber, I will add maybe a 1/2 cup of chickpeas or white beans to it just to add a little bit more, and then have it as a meal. I do this all summer long with our zucchini, and you can see let me turn down my burner. Our zucchini is getting soft. I like it, like I said, to have a little texture. So for me, this is done. And just the colors, you know, we've got the white onion and the green and the red, and I'm just going to take a little bit, there's some really big ones there, and just put it over my salad, and yum. Okay, you're just eating vegetables and it is so good. Let me sprinkle a little bit of my Parmesan cheese. I said a little bit, and here I am taking quite a bit. It is so good. I know I've made Parmesan cheese with nuts before, but my son has a nut allergy, so the hemp seeds really add a depth of flavor that is really, really good. So that's it. That's my spiraled zucchini noodles. Again, if you wanted to add more protein, you can put this over some pasta, you know, if you wanted to do that. I'm going to turn off my heat because it's going to be ready the way I like it. Thank you for watching our show today, or later on if you're going to be watching the recording, and enjoy that zucchini that you're growing or getting as a gift from your neighbors. Now, take care, everyone. Bye.
For the introduction, and here we are at our 50th Silver Jubilee. I can't believe it. This year is full of celebrations. I also celebrated 7 years of being whole food plant-based, and 7 years of us bringing whole food plant-based tours to Italy. Actually, last month we had our tour guests, and they had a blast. They enjoyed our region, our everything that it has to offer, and we had a wonderful time celebrating. They were returning guests that even made it better. What amazing confirmation that our tours have been successful and pleasant. So today our theme is zucchini. perfect for hot summer days, and we're having also wonderful summer days here in Italy. You see me bebopping around between Abu Dhabi and my house in small town Calamandrana, and so here I am. Today I've chosen a recipe from a wonderful person on Instagram. Her call is her name on Instagram is Foodie Tubi, and I thank her for this wonderful recipe. We are both of the same background, Turkish, and I often present to you Turkish recipes, and here's another one. Zucchini, of course, and eggplants and tomatoes, they play a big role in our lives in the summer, and here's yet another one. This recipe you can start a day before if you don't want to do it all at the same time, which I have started yesterday, so I'm going to take you through the process. Bear with me. So basically first you grate your zucchini using a simple grater on the large side, and you chop and smush some garlic, but also some scallions, green onions, and you basically start your process that way. Then you saute the zucchini, the scallions, and the garlic together until they're softened. And you also have to make some rice. Here you see my rice. Remember that the recipes are online, readily available. Basically for this recipe I used 4 zucchini about the size of these, not the small one but the larger one, and 1/4 of a cup of rice cooked. So you first saute the zucchini mix, and then you add to it the already cooked rice, and you give it a stir, and this is what it turns out to be. It's a beautiful light green and white mix, vibrant, the greens, and the aroma coming out of it is lovely as well. And the trick is to use strained, this is my homemade contraption, since I don't have strained plant-based yogurt. Yesterday I put it in some cheesecloth into a sieve and attached it to the side of my container and had it in the fridge for the day. There's at least a good 1/4 of a cup of liquids accumulated at the bottom. And so the trick is to now get my strained yogurt, which is really lovely looking and thick and cheesy. Here it is. I can put it here for better showing for you. Ta-da. So this is my thick, you see how wonderful and thick it is, yogurt. So you put then the yogurt, the strained yogurt, into your mixture. And look at that. No fancy gizmos necessary, simple things do it. And you give it a mix. Looking wonderful. You can also do this from raw if you like raw zucchini. Just make sure that you possibly put it in a strainer or in a sieve and squeeze extra liquid out of it so it doesn't become very smushy, very liquidy in the process. I'm gonna take all of my yogurt from here that I can take. I love these cheesecloths. They are very handy for when I do jelly making. I also make my own pectin from the apples on our trees, and I use the same cloth to strain the apple liquid when necessary. Well, when I'm making the homemade pectin. It's wonderful to use it for making jams and jellies in the summer. We have about 4 apple trees, and we can't eat all the apples, so especially you need to thin them in the early spring. And when you're thinning them, what do? Those little bitty apples, they become my pectin factory. So here's my zucchini mix. Zucchini, rice, and strained yogurt. You can see it's thick. Here we go. And to that, you add chopped walnuts, which I haven't chopped yet. So you just need a little cutting board and chop your walnuts. I like that our Turkish recipes often have walnuts in them, in the salads. We call this a salad or meze sometimes, but also it's called a zucchini salad. And has also a local name. It's called Nuraniye. Funny how foods get names. So, okay, my walnuts are chopped. Ta-da! I put my walnuts in. Give it another stir so that they're all in there. It's healthy and amazingly nutritious as well. So Foodie Tubi on her Instagram recipe uses olive oil, which I have changed. And the original recipe, most original zucchini recipes of Turkish background use dill. And dill, unfortunately, is not a very popular herb in Italy, so I can't readily find it. I usually grow it in my garden, but these days I don't live here full time, so I don't have much of a garden. Therefore, instead of dill, I used basil, which is very readily available at this time of the year in Italy. So I'm also adding the basil to it. And something extra that I have done from, everybody adds something or takes something else out of a recipe when they make it their own. I've decided to add lemon zest to my recipe, which I find that I can't waste a good lemon. So, and it just gives that extra oomph to any dish. So maybe it takes the authenticity out of this dish, but I love that it gives this wonderful flavor to it. Here we are. Our dish is ready, and I'm gonna put it into a pretty Turkish bowl since it's a Turkish recipe. Ta-da! Here we are, everyone. But it's not finished yet. Then you sprinkle some sesame seeds, toasted. And just a couple more of the basil leaves. Actually, I'll take a full one from here. Here we are. Our beautiful zucchini salad or zucchini meze. I hope you all try this at home and give us feedback. I hope to see you next time. Perhaps I'll be in Abu Dhabi by then. Until then, arrivederci. Ci vediamo. Ciao tutti, ciao.
Namaste and welcome to So Many Cooks in the Kitchen. I'm Shobha Swami from Atlanta, Georgia, a Food for Life instructor as well. Today our focus is zucchini. That's the star. In the summertime we get a lot of zucchini, and here is a wonderful snack that you can make with zucchini, and I call it the zucchini corn fritters, or also called pakodis from back home in India. It's a street food and it's really crispy and sought after by all, young and old alike. So let's make this together. Come join me. Let's see how this is put together. So here I'm taking 1 cup of grated zucchini and 1 cup of grated carrots. You can sneak in any vegetable you want into this. Bell peppers, cabbage, anything like that, and nobody would know. It's so tasty. I'm using onions here, and these are just slivered onions. But in place of onions, if you don't use onions, you can add cabbage as well. But onions add a wonderful flavor to this and makes it crispy. I had some cauliflower that I needed to use up, so I've grated that as well. These are called vegetable pakodis back home. They're a street food back home in India, and everybody loves them. And corn is available right now. Fresh corn you can use, or even frozen corn. I have about a cup of corn, approximately a cup of everything. You really don't have to measure these vegetables out. Just use anything you have in your fridge, and that should be good. I have a whole lot of cilantro chopped up. You can use kale, spinach, Swiss chard, collard greens, any other kind of greens as well, and call it green zucchini fritters. So there's so many choices from this. We love it spicy in our house, so I'm going to add 1 jalapeno that's finely diced. Just dice it as fine as you possibly can. Adds a wonderful flavor. And here are all the other things that you can add. We start with chickpea flour or garbanzo bean flour, and I'll be adding just a couple of tablespoons here. 1 and 2. That's it. And then a couple of tablespoons of rice flour. This is available, I think, in the Indian grocery store for sure. May be available in the American grocery store as well. The rice flour just makes it crispy. In case you don't have it and all you have is garbanzo bean flour, that's absolutely fine. You can skip it. It'll still taste absolutely delicious. You don't have to worry about it. But if you do have it at home, I would suggest you add it. It gives a nice crispy touch to the pakodis or the zucchini corn fritters. I'm adding about half a teaspoon of salt, and if you really need to add a tad more, feel free, because making the food tasty and delicious is the key, as well as eating it healthy. So if you have it healthy but doesn't taste good, then there's no point at all. So, and I'm using carom seeds here. These are tiny seeds. They look almost a smaller version of cumin seeds, but they impart an amazing flavor. Very good for digestion. We give carom seed water to the babies as well. And what you would do is mix all of this together. And the salt that we add in this makes the vegetable release a little bit of the water. So just let it sit for 5-10 minutes, or if you're in a hurry, just spritz some water. Just take some water and sprinkle it So since we are short of time here, I'm going to add just a tad bit of water. Just sprinkle some water. Don't, you can use a spray bottle or just a couple of handfuls of sprinkles of water. That's all you need. And it'll all come together and bind really well with the chickpea flour that we have added. And all you need to do is spoon it up and make small fritters here like this. And make sure that it's loose. It'll come together very nicely when you bake it. Don't worry about it. But don't pat it down way too much, because it won't be crisp otherwise. Just bring it all together like this. Even if it's a little, it feels like it's not coming together. Once you bake it, it'll definitely come together. And I'll show you, I have another version already created in there for you. So this is how you put this together. And then I'm going to take this, put it in my air fryer, and I have some fritters already ready. So I'm going to use my gloves to take this out and put this in for about 10 minutes in my air fryer. You can bake it in the oven as well. So if you don't have an air fryer, there's, it's absolutely not a problem at all. So here it is. So these are zucchini corn fritters, and let's just take one out and taste it. I'm sure they taste awesome. Yeah, there you go. So here's one taste test that I'm going to do. Crispy and crunchy on the outside, soft on the inside. They're awesome. Make these often. Make these with your kids. Add any vegetable you like. You can add bell peppers and many other variations. Enjoy. Make it often. Over to Carolyn in Montgomery, Alabama, as part of our So Many Cooks in the Kitchen. Thank you. See you next time.
That looks great, Shobha. You're just a few hours up the road, like 2 hours away from me. I would love to come up and taste those. They look fabulous. I am Carolyn Strickland, like Shobha said, in Montgomery, Alabama. And welcome to our 50th show. This is hard to believe. We've been doing this since May of 2020 when everything was shut down. So here we are. We just keep going. Okay. Zucchini. So interesting to me because I do love zucchini. Really hard to find it in the winter time. So I love the farmer's market. I just went this morning and got some great looking zucchini. I'm not sure what variety this is, but my favorite vendor at the farmer's market, this is the kind he sells. There are 62 different species of, or not species, 62 different varieties of zucchini with 11 subspecies. So zucchini is very widely varied, put it that way. I've seen yellow zucchini, all kinds of different varieties of zucchini, 8-ball zucchini, the little round ones. I have some behind me on the counter. Lots of great zucchini, and they are also in England, at least, called courgettes. So same thing. So what I'm doing with it is making it into little zucchini boats where you scoop the insides out. So cut it in half. And we had an interesting discussion a little while ago on YouTube about what kind of knife to use. And I like to use a Santoku knife because it has these little ridges on the side, little divots that keep the zucchini from sticking to it. But really, any knife, as long as it's nice and sharp, so you're not going to hurt yourself. And then I cut it in half. So all the way down the middle of the zucchini from the top to the bottom, cut the stem end off of each end, and then cut it in half down the middle. And then I use a grapefruit spoon to scoop out the insides. And you don't want to scoop all the way down to the green part. You just want to do about 1/4 of an inch left all the way around. So you can see I've already done a whole tray of them right here. And I'll scoop out one more to show you how that works. So the grapefruit knife works really, really well. And I already have a whole bowl of all the insides I scooped out. Now, I've seen some recipes online for making something similar to this that they just say throw the insides away, but I can't really imagine why we would do that. Zucchini is so good for you. There's lots and lots of fiber and vitamins and minerals. So it seems kind of silly just to throw it all away. So I use the insides in my filling. Okay. And then if it has some big seeds, sometimes you'll find some, especially later in the summer, the seeds get kind of large inside. So just go ahead and pull those out. But the rest of it, just scrape it out like this. Let's see. Oh, there we go. Okay. So it's mostly scraped out. So about 1/4 of an inch all the way around, and then lay it in your pan. And then we'll set that aside for just a second. And into a nice hot pan, I'm going to put the scooped out insides of the zucchini. Just toss that in. It's already hot. Along with a half of a red bell pepper that I've already cut up. Half of a red bell pepper. Also got that from the farmer's market. And a half of an onion. And you could use a sweet onion or a regular yellow onion if you want to. Red onion even, that would be interesting. Okay. And garlic. So I love garlic. So to me, there's, never too much. But this is probably about 3 cloves minced up. Get that in there. And then just kind of saute it for a few minutes just to kind of get it starting to cook. And I didn't wring out the zucchini, the insides of the zucchini. So for some recipes, you probably do want to wring out the zucchini a little bit because it is very watery. But because we're cooking this in a pan over medium-high heat, any liquid that was in it after just a few minutes is going to evaporate. So that's not an issue. For some things, you would want to wring out the zucchini, like if you're making a sauce of some kind with zucchini in it, or the fritters like Shobha just made, you probably would want to wring out the excess moisture from it. But you don't really have to do that when you're pan sauteing it like this. So you'll notice I haven't put any oil in it at all. And it's not sticking because it is so liquidy, it's just fine. But if it does start to stick, I've got some low sodium vegetable broth right here ready to dump in just in case. And then once that starts, it looks like it's cooking pretty well. I'm not sure if you can hear that sizzling, but it's doing a good job of getting cooked and starting to smell fragrant. I smell the onion and the garlic. And then we're going to add some seasoning. So it's about a teaspoon of cumin, a half a teaspoon of smoked paprika, one of my favorite seasonings, and about a half teaspoon of dried oregano. You can absolutely increase that if you want to, if that seems too bland for your taste. So we're going to be tasting it before we put it in the zucchini boats. So just to make sure it's flavorful enough. So I'm going to add all of that seasoning and stir to incorporate it. It's looking pretty good. Smells even better. And then while that's cooking, we talk about the different grains you can use. So in this pan, I'm using quinoa. So we're going to add about 1 cup to 1.5 cups of cooked grain of your choice. So quinoa is what I'm adding to this one. So this is 1.5 cups of cooked quinoa. Also, you're going to be adding a can worth of black beans. You could have cooked those black beans from dried, but about 1.5 cups of black beans. And then about 1/2 cup of corn, mostly for the color, just because it's really pretty, because that bright yellow pop of color in it. And this seems to be coming along very nicely. So we'll go ahead and add, I don't even need to add any of the vegetable broth because there was enough liquid that it's just not sticking at all right now. So if it were to stick, that's when I would add this, but it's not sticking. So I'm adding the quinoa, and we'll let that get incorporated. So I've already made another pan to show you the cooked, finished version. And in that pan that's behind me on the counter, I used brown rice, a short grain brown rice, because you do kind of want the filling to stick together a little bit and not just fall apart when you put it in the zucchini boat. Okay, so that's all incorporated. Let's see if I can show you on here. It's getting all incorporated. And then I'm adding the black beans and the corn. There we go. Okay. There we go. That looks really good. So let's see if I can put my down shot on. There we go. So you can see that it's getting all incorporated. It's really pretty, very fragrant. And this is the point when you would want to taste it for seasoning. So let me go ahead and turn that hot burner off. Okay. And then at this point, give it a little taste and just see if you want any more seasoning. It's really pretty good like that. So, especially since I'll be giving some to my mother and she doesn't really like things too spicy. So I'm going to keep it just like that. Okay. And then this is the fun part. And if you have little kids, they would probably love helping do this. I've been teaching kids cooking classes for the past 7 weeks now, with 90 children every week. So I've been thinking a lot about what things kids would enjoy. This is a fun part. So big spoon and grab one of your zucchini, actually just lay them flat and spoon it in and then press down to get it all the way in there. You want to kind of mash it into place, and it can come up over the top. That's fine if it's not completely level. And we're going to be putting a sauce over it anyway, or not. So that's your choice. But there are some on the recipe that you'll find. I think the recipe has been posted on our Facebook page. So you'll find that it says you can make it with a sauce or without. So you could go ahead and just roast these in the oven without any sauce. I kind of like adding a sauce to it, amps up the flavor a little bit. But we'll just fill all these little boats. There we go. And there. And one of the things I really like to make in the summertime to go on this recipe in particular is a tomatillo salsa, or tomatillo sauce, I guess, to go over the top. Tomatillos are quite abundant here in Alabama anyway. My favorite vendor at the farmer's market sells the zucchini, but he also sells the tomatillos. So love some good tomatillos. Okay, there. So it's a little messy, but that's okay. All right, still tastes the same. All right, so now the zucchini boats are filled. There we go. So you can see that's one way you could do it. Just put aluminum foil over the top. Or if you have a casserole dish that comes with a lid, put the lid on. So either way, aluminum foil or the lid. And then I'll show you how I make my tomatillo sauce, which is lots of fun. Let me pull my food processor a little closer. Okay, so tomatillos, these cute little things that in Espanol, tomatillo is baby tomato or little tomato, but they are actually not tomatoes at all. And they have a papery husk on the outside that you do need to peel off. And then there's a resin on the inside between the papery sauce and the tomatillo. So you will need to rinse the tomatillos off to get that sticky substance off of the inside. And I've already cut up about 1.5 pounds worth and roasted them with, and I'll show you, with a few jalapenos and with an onion, 1 large onion, and a couple cloves of garlic that I just tossed on there. So these have all been roasted and they're nice and soft and tender. You can eat the peel. So once you get that papery husk off the outside, you can eat the peel of the tomatillo. So that's not a problem. So I'm going to see if I can get this all into my food processor carefully. So I use a parchment lined baking pan, or jelly roll pan as they're sometimes called, because it has the edges around the side. You wouldn't want to put this on a cookie sheet because it would all just drip off the sides. So dump that whole thing right here into the food processor. There we go. All right, so that was actually most of the ingredients right there. were the 1.5 pounds of tomatillos, 1 large onion, and a few jalapenos, a couple cloves of garlic. Roast them 400 degrees for about 30 minutes. And this recipe is on the recipe document as kind of a bonus recipe for putting on the zucchini boats. So with the tomatillo sauce, after that, we're going to add some ground cumin, which I have right here. Oh, I've already got the seasoning out. Okay, so ground cumin, about a teaspoon. Dump that in. And that, it was such a huge amount before it went in the oven, and then it just cooks down to so small. And then we'll just whirl that up. There. Okay. So now it's all whirled up for the most part. Oh, lost a big jalapeno on the side there. We got to get him in there. All right, one more whirl. There we go. Okay, so that's done. And it's really good just like this if you add a little bit of lime juice, maybe some fresh cracked pepper, a pinch of iodized sea salt if you use salt. If not, you can absolutely leave it out, but just a little pinch of that. Another, you could have it just like this, and that would be really delicious with a fresh squeezed lime in it. Or, as it says in the recipe, put it in a pan on the stovetop, cook it with some vegetable broth added to it, about 1 cup to 1.5 cups, and just let it cook down for about 10 minutes or so. And if you want to, you could even make it a creamy tomatillo sauce by adding maybe some homemade vegan sour cream. Excuse me. And on my YouTube channel, which is Strickland's and Friends, my husband and I have a YouTube channel where we make, he's a doctor and board certified in internal medicine and lifestyle medicine. So we talk about health issues, but make super healthy plant-based food. So we actually do have a sour cream, a vegan sour cream recipe on there. So I would probably serve that on here. That would be really good. So you could pour this over your zucchini boats, wrap it tightly or cover with a casserole lid and bake it in the oven for about 30 minutes at 400 degrees. And I'll show you the finished product here. There we go. So this is one that I did with a salsa on top instead. So it has a red sauce on top, and some of the liquid released out of the zucchini, but that's perfectly fine. So it's delicious and very filling. It's a very filling dish. So this would serve probably 6 people or 3 really hungry people because there's 6 pieces of zucchini. And this one was made with the brown rice instead of the quinoa. So use the grain of your choice. You could also switch from black beans to pinto beans if you prefer pinto. That would be good too. So just play with it. Play with your food, as they say. So that, we have a lot of zucchini boats at our house. So I wish everybody could come over and help me eat them. So we are doing a question and answer, a Q&A session. And if you ask a question during Q&A, then you're entered in the drawing for a Veg News Magazine subscription and a stainless steel spiralizer. So I think we'll go back to Dilip now and answer any questions. I know there were already some good ones coming in on YouTube. So, hey, Dilip. Hey, Johnny.
Hi. Looks like we have Janin and, of course, Carolyn and Shobha. So welcome back. And thanks, Carolyn, for an excellent demonstration. A lot of questions came in. So those of you just joining us, great questions have been coming in. Thanks for all your questions. And I'm going to deputize Janin to make notes of who asked questions. Does that sound okay, Janin?
Okay, sure.
So from now on, any questions that come in, you'll be in the drawing. We're giving away a spiralizer and a Veg News subscription. Do any of you 3 use spiralizers?
Yes, sometimes.
Yeah, me too, sometimes.
Okay. So question has come in by Lee Hayes. So Janin, please add Lee to the list. Please start the list with Lee. So he is
Hey,
asking,
okay.
what are the nutritional benefits of zucchini? So zucchini has a couple. Oh, go on, Carolyn.
Oh no, you go ahead. I was going to get a patty pan squash. There we go.
Zucchini has a couple key vitamins, and I wrote about it in my section of the document. So it's of course it has a lot of fiber, which is great. It's about 40%, I think, of the recommended daily intake of vitamin A. It's 40, 45, something like that. And it's a decent source of vitamin C. It has potassium and manganese. The thing I like working with zucchini is it's reasonably bland, so it can be a side note to other ingredients. Shoba, did you want to add to that?
Yeah. So zucchini is an amazing vegetable. It can be used raw as well. And I use it in a lot of my salads almost every day. On my daily salads, I use a little piece of zucchini. And um, what Carolyn has made is just awesome. We can make things like that. I also make zucchini fries. I think nutritionally, it has a lot of water content and, like you said, high fiber. And it's a very neutral vegetable as well. It can be added to pasta and things like that. And it's a vegetable that lends itself very well to pasta sauce and things like that. So kids, who don't eat a lot of vegetables or are picky about their vegetables, this could be snuck in. And, it's not just got a very strong flavor profile or anything. So and vegetables like Dilip was mentioning, have a lot of nutrients in terms of phytonutrients, the antioxidants,
Right.
and the green skin. So don't peel it. So the same rules apply, and all these vegetables are loaded. So, and we don't really have to go into the finer, minute nutrient comparisons between potassium and calcium and all of these things.
Right.
So
I love what Shoba has to say, because when you're eating plant-based, then Mother Nature has provided all these foods for us. And so we like, if you're familiar with Forks Over Knives and Colin Campbell, Colin has written a book called Whole, and he argues exactly what Shoba is saying, that why scientists are trained to dissect things, not dissect, but cut things apart and look at individually what makes up, for example, food, but eat a lot of good plant-based foods, and quite likely your needs will be served very well.
Right.
Shoba,
True.
while you're speaking, there's another question that came in for you, and it was about here. It's from Patricia Campana. So, Janan, please add Patricia to our list. And the question for you is, next question for Shoba, the difference between the recipe today and samosas.
yes, good question. Good question. Pakodis are just fritters that are very easy to put together, like I showcased to you. But samosas, they have an added step. You have to make the filling separately and the outer shell separately. It's like almost like imagine like putting a pie together, but it's a savory kind of pie, or a pot pie together kind of thing, which is very similar to that. And it's a savory dish. So there's two steps to it. Once the inside filling and then the outer, and then traditionally, as you all know, samosas are deep fried, though they're vegan, but not so heart healthy. So it's best to make samosas either in a, small cup kind of thing, open faced samosas, or you can make regular samosas without deep frying them and put them in your air fryer. So that's the difference. Is samosas have a filling in them, whereas these pakodis are just, like I was mentioning, I just take leftover salad, and if you don't want to eat the salad, just throw all these other condiments in and bind them together and put it in the air fryer, and then makes a nice crunchy snack. So it's quick to put together. It's not the two-step process. That's all.
Question came in from Janet Doe. So Janet's asking, could you add silken tofu to the sauce to make it creamy? So I know that Janan also had a sauce, and I have some questions about your yogurt. But let's first go to Carolyn, because this was for Carolyn's sauce.
I think you could. Yes, silken tofu, probably not more than about a half a cup or so, but it would make it nice and creamy. Sure, I would try that. I just like my own homemade sour cream. So I do add that. It's just made of homemade yogurt and cashews and lemon juice and white vinegar. So very easy sour cream. But yeah, I think you could also easily add the silken tofu to it. That would be great.
Jean, and I wanted to ask you about yogurt because I love my yogurt. I make yogurt. I've been making my own soy yogurt for, I don't know, 5 years, 8 years. Did I bring you some of my starter, Carolyn, when I visited you?
No,
I didn't. Okay.
I wish you had. Maybe next time.
I took some to Omaha a couple of weeks ago. So I wanted to ask you about your yogurt because you were talking about straining it, and I mentioned a cheap way because the question came up while you were cooking was to use painter's cloth from a hardware store, which is very inexpensive. I don't strain mine, and I love mine. So do you find straining is important to you when you make yogurt?
Well, depends on the recipe because I don't make my own yogurt. I buy it, and then the kind of soy yogurt that I find is very liquid. And in this recipe, it would not have been good to use. I mean, would it be a disaster? No, you could. It would just be a little more runny. But the idea of this recipe is to have it thicker and creamier. And so since I don't make my own yogurt, if I want to have a thick and creamy sauce, then I do strain the yogurt. And somebody also asked, I saw after the program, if I had strained my zucchini.
Yes.
No, this time I hadn't because I cooked them. And in the cooking process, the liquid went away. Plus, using the white, or I call it white, but it's the very, very light green zucchini. They have less liquid than the dark green ones. So there was very little liquid coming out even when I cooked it. But if you're going to use it, the dark green ones, and if you're going to not cook them, maybe it would be a good idea to strain those, like leave them aside a little bit so the extra liquid would go. Again, if you want to reach the consistency that I had on the program. Otherwise, it could be a little more runny and and it will still have the same flavor.
My daughter and I loved our visit to your place show in January or in December, and I did bring you yogurt, and you said last week I was talking to you, you've been making it. My yogurt's nice and thick, isn't it?
Amazingly thick. Yes, yes. Did you say you use Eden soy to make that?
Right.
Yeah.
Eden or West soy, the pure soy milk. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, this just very nice. Yeah, and I don't strain my yogurt because then it's a two-step process, and then what do you do with that liquid, So
throw it in a smoothie.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's very true.
Strain mine. I do strain mine only when if something calls for Greek yogurt, that really thick Greek style, I will then strain my homemade yogurt because it's nice and thick already. But I will strain it sometimes with cheesecloth, just in a colander in a bowl in my refrigerator overnight, and then it's really thick the next morning, just like the store-bought Greek yogurt.
That's exactly what I did. I had it overnight in the fridge, draining all night, and I like it. I do like it strained also for making really thick dips. It just has a different feel to it.
Yeah, it's nice. We've actually had it on sauces. We could have one on dips, but yeah, if you have some yogurt and mix in some favorite seasonings like jerk seasoning or something like that, little bit of black pepper, it's nice. It makes a nice dip for celery or carrots. Or
like if you strain it, then you can almost use it with a bagel as cream cheese.
Yes.
The unstrained one that I buy would be a disaster with a bagel. So you just have to.
It was Kathy Saber who asked the question. So could you add her to your list, please?
Dilip, I had a very hard time today trying to figure out what recipe to make because I have so many favorite zucchini recipes that it was really difficult. But I thought these were very different. But I also really love spiralizing my zucchini and using a peanut sauce, making raw pad thai. And I love zucchini chips. I make so many different things out of zucchini this was very hard today to narrow it down to one thing.
I think one of the older shows I had made zucchini pancakes. So
That's right.
way back.
Kathy has an interesting question. My biggest challenge in preparing vegan dishes is mouthfeel. Today I made haluska, but missed the butterfeel. So I do have some suggestions. So there's a couple step process. I think the first step is vegan and the second step is whole food plant-based. And if you're vegan, that doesn't mean that you're not using, fats like oils and vegan butters and all. So my suggestion is if you are having guests, and your whole food plant-based, maybe the first meal for them could use a little bit of oil or something a little bit more luscious, because the transition from, I find, animal foods to vegan foods is not that big. You have, in fact, I think the taste increases. You have a bigger taste profile. But once you're being careful about not adding fat, there is a mouthfeel change. I experienced it when I became a Food for Life instructor. I always added a little bit of oil to my cooking before I became an instructor, and I learned in my training it wasn't necessary. And so I found that to be a transition because it is a different mouthfeel. So, Kathy, my suggestion is wean yourself off the oil and the vegan butter. If you're using small quantities, I had some rye bread toast with breakfast, and I used a little bit of a vegan butter with that, but it was such a small quantity. So those are things you can do. Does anybody else have any suggestions for Kathy?
I agree with you. I think that unctuous feeling that we have transition, we miss it, but it goes away once you transition. I don't miss it anymore. Actually, if I go out to eat in a restaurant where I cannot get our way of cooking, the food feels too oily, too buttery, too greasy, and that is not a fun feeling for me anymore.
Yeah, my wife, I'm sorry, Shobha, go on.
No, go ahead, Dylan.
So my wife feels the same way. I cook. I'm the cook in the house. More than 20 years of knowing my wife, never repeated a dinner, and so it's pretty fun. So for me, getting a break once in a while, I like going out to eat. We're always 100% vegan, and I do ask at restaurants, can you use as little oil as possible? But my wife often complains. She says, Dilip, I'd rather have your cooking. She'd rather be at home. But I like the experience of going out. It's fun to be served. It's fun to experience new ways. I learn new ways of making food. And yeah, I find sometimes it's heavy. And so sometimes I find it a little bit heavy, but it's fun. And if you're eating out once in a while and you're getting some extra oil, it's not going to make a big difference at all. It's your overall fat average should be low. And of course, when we eat out, we're still 100% vegan. We would never not be vegan. I'd rather go hungry at least for a few days than eat non-vegan. That's not an option in our house. Shobha, you were going to share something.
Yeah, certain things that I use to make this more than a creamy feel. What I go with is sometimes I use beans, like white cannellini beans, or even sometimes lentils. When you cook lentils down, they become creamy, and their original size is and shape is not retained, so it becomes really nice and creamy. So even red lentils, yellow split lentils, as well as things like a tablespoon of hummus in some of the foods. I mean, I don't know much about this, the exact dish that she had made here, but those are some of the tricks that I use to make things creamy. And I almost always use that in my dressings because my husband likes it creamy as well. So I always put some form of beans in my um, dressings and sauces to add that creamy touch and creamy feel for your palate.
So let's add Grassroots Food and Bakery, GR, Janan, please, to the list of folks who are asking questions.
I think he's making or she's making a suggestion, a tiny amount of guacamole for
Yeah, and I wanted to respond to that. So guacamole is nice and creamy, and it's one of the few plant sources that is high in fat. Coconut is as well. So if you're eating guacamole all the time, it's probably not a good idea. But if you're eating, I don't know, maybe a third or a half of an avocado a couple times a week, it's probably okay. Our general rule of thumb is about 3 grams of fat per serving of dish. So if you are someplace and you get something higher in fat, then make sure that maybe the other things are a little bit lower in fat. So yeah, a little bit of guacamole would add some nice flavor. I love guacamole. My secret for guacamole, it's not traditional, is I put rosemary in my guacamole, and that adds a really nice flavor. If I'm not too lazy, I chop the rosemary in half to give it even more flavor. So rosemary, avocado lime juice, a bit of lime juice. If you don't have it, then lemon juice or Meyer lemon juice is really good. Garlic, minced garlic, and 2 kinds of onion: red onion and either green onion or Vidalia onion or something like that. Speaking of onion, I have to share some really cool news. I did a couple classes recently for American Dance Festival, which is the biggest contemporary dance festival. It's here in North Carolina, and I did a couple food classes, and I had 2 students. They get students from all over the world and the country. I had 2 students from Hawaii, and I was commenting how the best onion is the Maui onion. And when I used to go to Hawaii, I used to bring Maui onions back with me. So guess what? One of my students promised me after the summer when she goes back, she's going to send me a box of Maui onions.
Oh, wow.
I'm excited about
Cool. Those are the best. Did you wear your onion T-shirt?
No, I didn't. Yeah, Carolyn gave me a gift of an onion T-shirt.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
Philip likes onions.
I like adding guac or avocados as well. And like you were saying, Dilip, we need to watch out and not to eat, copious amounts of avocado as well. But as a garnish, it's mentally satiating, and it adds that creamy touch. If you just add maybe a sliver or a slice or a small couple of cubes of avocado, those are good options too, rather than blend it in or something. So we eat as much with our eyes and visually as much with our mouths and saliva and tongue and feel and taste. So I think when the brain registers that it's creamy and it's nice, so that adds up definitely a good touch to the food as well.
And one thing else you can do for sauces is I'm a big fan of citrus, as probably many of you guys know.
Yes.
So a little bit of citrus, maybe citrus miso, that adds like a nice kind of a slippery
miso.
feel. And
We do know this. We do know this about you, Dilip. Yes. We are very well aware. Citrus
Too bad.
fanatic.
Yeah, too bad, Carolyn, that lemon trees don't grow in North Carolina. That's too
Right?
sad.
I know.
That'd be great.
For me
My lemon
too.
tree is doing great out here.
Yeah, Georgia too. We're not able to grow citrus in Georgia.
I've got a lemon tree out back. So yeah.
A question
Little
came
one.
in from Hyacinth Henry. Let's add Hyacinth to the list, please, Shannon.
I just did,
She's asking about coconut oil. Would Shannon, you like to take that question?
Sure. Coconut oil is about 85-90% saturated fat. So our doctors in the whole food plant-based world do not recommend it as a healthy oil to use in cooking at all. They do suggest that it's good for the skin or for the hair.
Right.
We want to minimize our saturated fat intake, and that's one of the worst oils to eat with that.
Well, any oil that's solid at room temperature, contains saturated fat. So that's how you know.
Yeah. So, like Kanan was mentioning, not only that, extracted oils out of either coconut or nut or seed oils as well have only the fat removed from it, like we all know. Like Dilip was mentioning in the book Whole by Dr. T. Colin Campbell, he mentions how we should be eating whole foods as available in nature. So using up a little bit of coconut in its frozen or fresh form is absolutely fine. You can blend it to give a creamy touch, but then the same doesn't go for the oils extracted from these. So if coconut with the fiber, with the protective properties of antibacterial, and if you have like a mouth sore or something like that, back home in India, my father would give me a small piece of coconut to chew on, so that coconut milk would act as a balm to soothe the sore in the mouth. So we would do things like that. So those are okay, but we prefer using whole coconut. You can blend it a little bit, like we in back home in India, we make coconut chutney, which is a blended fresh coconut, which still keeps the fiber intact even though it's ground up in a blender. And that's the way we would prefer that you consume. And oils are no form of oil is really healthy for us, especially for our heart health, which is like the number one killer in the not just the country
I'm
but the
losing
entire world, I think.
Yeah, we've talked about oil before. Oil is pure fat. So I used to use oil regularly. Once I became an instructor, I stopped. I don't use zero oil. I actually keep oil, but it lasts forever. You know where I use oil is for tempeh. So when I make tempeh, to get it brown, it needs just a tiny bit of oil. So what I do is I put barely a drop on. I heat up my pan, then I use a paper towel and wipe it off. So it's practically zero, but it's just enough of a film. That's all it needs to get my tempeh brown, and that's pretty much. Oh, and I make popcorn, and there's a really nice way I learned from the Salad Master folks to make popcorn. I don't know if you guys know this. Is you put with a high quality pan like a Salad Master, you put your kernels, and you don't have to put oil, but a little bit of oil really does help. So a little bit of oil, like half a teaspoon, a very small amount, and your kernels, and you cover the Salad Master pan or a high quality pan, put it on low medium, and no stirring or anything. You make really good popcorn. It's pretty crispy. So I use oil for that. But generally, we avoid oil.
Yeah.
Another question came in. This one is from Shirley Ann Mooney. So Janan, please add her to our list. So Shirley Ann's asking, my farmer's market sells patty pan squash. Any suggestions? So I'll throw out that all of our zucchini, there we go, all of our squash recipes should work fine. Shobha, go on, Shobha.
I
No,
love
I was telling Carolyn is the lady.
Oh, right.
I'm holding some right here. This is patty pan squash from my farmer's market. So really anything, you can do anything with it that you would do with a regular zucchini, so, or any other kind of squash. Shred it, put it in a salad, shred it, put it in a soup, grill it, chop it into chunks and roast it with some garlic powder and onion powder and, pinch of pepper, maybe a little salt. Roast it like 375 for about 25 minutes or so. You could air fry it in little chunks. That's how my mother loves it.
With tofu or tempeh is great.
Yeah, she loves it air fried. And then something I've done, I always think of patty pan squash as looking like little UFOs. They just look like little flying saucers to me. But you can cut one end off, scoop the insides out, and do just like I did and stuff them, which is really fun. In fact, I think I have a recipe for that on my Instagram page, but you can do just about anything with it that you would any other zucchini, or any other squash. They're all related. All the zucchinis and yellow squashes, everything are all part of the same family, so they're all going to act about the same. Roasting, grilling. I like to grill it. We cut it in little chunks and put it out on a big grill pan outside and grill it with green tomato, peppers, eggplant. So just toss it all together and put it on the grill. It's excellent. So really anything that you would do, like this one is a 8-ball zucchini is what it's called. So it looks, it's like a little ball. And this one, I like to cut in nice thick round slices and grill it. And then also cut green tomato in thick round slices, eggplant in thick round slices, and then make little stacks out of them. So grilled vegetables stacked on top of each other, maybe with a layer of grain in between, and then a sauce over the top. So
you know what I was thinking too is if we took like patty pan squash and sliced it really thin, and then had some onions and some patty pan squash and a few other things. Let me come back to onions in a second too. So if you did that, and then maybe had a piece of seitan or tempeh or tofu and cook that, that'd make a great burger. I wanted to throw something out about onions because we've been talking a little bit about, and Kathy made a point that depending on when you buy them, the flavors can differ. Often the younger the vegetables, the tastier they are. We've been talking a bunch about onions. So Shobha was talking about the Indian culture. Did you know that there are a number of people, my mom and dad passed away, but my mom grew up not eating any onions or garlic. There's a significant number of people from India in particular who don't eat it. So yes, onions and garlic are good for you, but we've had a show on onions, but you don't have to have onions. There are people who spend their. My mom preferred not to even touch onions, so she'd cook onions for me, and she'd ask me if I could chop the onions. It's very nice to see two of my math students. So hello, Angela and Daniel. So Angela is a rising 6th grader, I think, and Daniel's a rising 3rd grader. So great to have you on the show. So you're asking, what are some other good vegetable combinations that taste good with zucchini sauteed or roasted? Great question. You know what goes well with it is fennel. Fennel's a little bit harder to find. By the way, let's add their mom's name is Emily. Let's add Emily McCowan to our list of who can win prizes. So fennel goes great with zucchini. I find zucchini is really plain. And so what I like to cook with it is something that has a more pronounced flavor. Onion is a great example if you are using onions. Something like if you have a rich pumpkin, right? A rich pumpkin. So as fall comes along, if you can cut it in slices and cook that with it, you get the nice deep color and you get some nice contrasting flavors. And then something as simple as like a tomato or a tomato sauce would go well with it. So so try that out and see what you guys think. Did you know Angela and Daniel are Shakespearean actors? So
Wow.
So thanks for asking your question. Thanks for watching. So hope that answers your question. Does anybody else want to add to Daniel and Angela's question?
Yes. So I think things that go really well with zucchini are peppers and eggplant. I think those go really nicely together. In fact, when I make a vegetable pizza, one of my favorite things to do is a whole bunch of roasted eggplant cut in little chunks, like the long Japanese eggplant cut in little round slices, zucchini cut in little round slices, and peppers cut in strips, and just roast it for a little bit. And then I put it on my pizza. It's delicious together.
Kathy has a great comment. Those stacks sound like they make nice hors d'oeuvres if you cut and spear with a toothpick. The nice thing about cooking with zucchini and using other things is there are people in my own family. My daughter does not like zucchini, and when she sees that I bought zucchini or candy cane squash, she says, "Oh no!" So I say, "Well, sweetie, I'll give you a small serving. She'll eat it, but she's not crazy about it." And Cody's the same way. In her family, she kind of likes it, but in her family, people don't like it. For some reason, a lot of people aren't fans of zucchini. And
my daughter doesn't like zucchini. She thinks it's bitter. And I've noticed something about zucchini. A lot of the time, if it's been sitting around for a while, like you've had it for a couple weeks in your refrigerator, the top part near the stem tends to stay sweeter. But as you get closer to the bottom end of it, it can get a little more bitter. So if you've had the zucchini for a little while, you may want to like cut slices, and then when it gets to the spot where it's bitter, stop using it.
Isn't zucchini also a nightshade? I'm not sure.
Yes, there were tomatillos actually. Yeah.
So Shobha, maybe you can comment on this. We talked about this in an earlier show. We were talking about superstitions, and I learned some of my cooking from my mom. India is a very old culture, and there's lots of superstitions. My wife is very much against superstition, so she doesn't participate. I do because it's harmless. But one superstition that I do that my mom taught me is when I cut cucumber, and maybe we should do this with squash, she told me that cucumber has poison in it, which of course nowadays we talk about nightshades. And so what I do, I don't know, Shobha, if you've ever been exposed to this, is I make a tic-tac-toe grid on the ends and I rub it. And then a white fluid comes out, which my mom would call poison. Then I cut a little bit more off and I'm happy and easy to go. So I wonder if that relates. So you're familiar with that too, Shobha?
Yes, we just cut off a little bit at the end, at the tip, and then rub it. And we didn't call it poison. We knew that was bitter. When my mother would do that and teach us, they would remove the bitterness. That's what she would tell us. And that white milky substance that comes out will be the bitter part of it. Yeah, we always used to do that. But I think the way cucumbers are grown these days, they're less and less bitter. And if you flavor them nicely with lots of garlic, lots of onions, and your favorite flavorings, the goal about eating healthy and eating whole food plant-based, when I do my classes at the botanical gardens or the libraries, I tell them, is to make your food delicious. So if it's bitter, then maybe it needs a little more of all these flavorings you added, so it kind of little bit masks. And sometimes when these zucchini and things like that are a little bitter, the next day when you eat them, that bitterness has come down because of the juices and the sauces and everything else we put in it. It kind of dilutes it a little bit. So that's what happened to me. Somebody grew a bitter melon. We use a lot of this bitter melon back home in India. Karela, Dilip. And so I put it in my lentils. And then my husband said, "What is this? This is so bitter."
It is very bitter.
Very bitter.
Very
But believe me, next day when we opened up the same lentils, it was all, it all got diluted in the lentils, and I put
Mhm.
Oh,
potatoes and
interesting.
carrots and everything in there. So it just got absorbed, this bitterness. And then I
Hmm.
said, is it still bitter? He says, no, 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 today it's not as bitter. I said, "Ooh, very good."
Well, the way I look at it is superstitions often have have a rich history of, people have been around for thousands of years. Another interesting superstition that my mom taught me and my wife refuses to participate in is corn on the cob. Do you have the same thing? When we make corn on the cob, we cut the corn and the cob in half and take deep breaths from the inside. And my mom would always tell me, you won't get a tummy ache. So I'll offer it to my daughter and myself, but my wife, I don't even ask her because she refuses. Is that something you're familiar with, or is it just my family?
Are you
I
saying
think
after
that
it's
was
cooked
to
or when
slow
it's
you
raw?
down.
After it's cooked, you
After it's
snap the
cooked.
corn and you take deep breaths of the cob inside of the cob.
Interesting. Okay. Never
You're
heard
not
of
familiar with
that.
that,
No,
Shobha?
I've not heard about that either, Dilip. I've never done it.
India's a diverse country.
Yeah.
I think she was trying to slow you down, Dilip.
Maybe.
When I take a corn on the cup, I go like a cartoon. I eat it so fast. Maybe
I
too.
know, me too. I just got a dozen of them this morning from the farmer's market. Oh, fresh and delicious. They're so good.
Question
Ooh.
And I
came
like
in from
the best way I like my corn is roasted. Typically, you roast it on charcoal back home in India.
yes,
Mhm.
And
Yes.
I don't know if you remember, Dilip, it's called bhutta.
yes,
And then they put lime, a little bit of chili pepper
yeah,
powder, like a cayenne powder, and then salt. They
yes,
dip
Oh,
this lime in a combination of chili powder and
yeah.
salt, and then just rub it all over. But
that
that
sounds
gets
like
my lips
Mexican. That sounds like Mexican street corn, elote. That sounds, yeah,
exactly like that we have.
that's
A
interesting.
question came in from Janet Doe. Is there a substitute for chickpea flour in the fritters? So, Shobha?
Mm.
Substitute for chickpea flour, what can we use, Dilip? Rice flour will go well, I think. You substitute
You
rice
could use
flour.
wheat flour.
Mhm.
Wheat flour, yes, that's true. Wheat flour and rice flour and any other flour, I think, like quinoa
I would
flour or
think
things like that.
oatmeal flour would work as
Oat
well.
flour, yeah,
Okay.
exactly. Anything which is a little, sticky and it'll just get the vegetables to bind together. Um, and then I wanted to tell you one thing. I know I sprinkled a little bit of water on my veggies, but then later I noticed that it's better to keep it more dry than sprinkle a little water. Then it becomes soggy and is not as crispy.
Mhm.
So let it sit for the best way I found is when you mix it with the salt and the spices and the vegetables. And let it sit for literally 2 to 5 minutes, and then it releases a little bit of water, the vegetables, and that's just perfect.
And
Then you
and
quickly, go about.
and that leads to the question from Janet Doe about salting zucchini to get rid of extra moisture. I'm going to see if either Jeanin or Carolyn can take this, but I will say that when I have time and I'm cooking eggplant, I sometimes do that with eggplant. I'll salt my eggplant, and that takes some of the bitterness out and helps it cook a little bit faster. But Jeanin, did you want to share anything about salting zucchini? Is that something you do?
Well, my mother would, but
Yeah.
I'm often in a hurry to cook. So if I'm especially if I'm making zucchini pancakes, it really helps to get rid of the water. But then I forget to do it, and I want to do my recipe, so I increase the amount of the
Yeah.
binder that I use, or I also add ground flaxseed or something. So depending on the recipe, you might have to strain it, but you can also avoid doing it.
And a
Right.
couple questions
And
came in. Maybe Carolyn, you can take this about rice flour. If you don't have rice flour, can you use a small appliance like a Vitamix to grind it?
Oh,
Yes.
absolutely. Yeah. So the Vitamix actually has a dry goods blender so that you can actually get specifically for doing dry things like making wheat berries into wheat flour, rice, whole grain rice into rice flour, that kind of thing. So the trick would be keeping it really dry and not letting it get hot, because once it starts heating up, it can start getting gummy. So you want to try and keep it cold. So I actually keep my wheat berries in the freezer. And so if I'm trying to make my own flour, they go from the freezer into the dry goods blender and then blend it up. So you would probably do the same thing with rice and keep it really cold first before you put it in, just because heating is going to start bringing out the oils and whatever, in it that makes it start getting sticky.
Shoba, did you want to add to that?
Yeah, not so much add to that, but one more idea I got about replacing chickpea flour is cornmeal.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Corn flour.
That's
Yeah,
right.
cornmeal,
Yeah,
not
That
corn
would
flour,
work.
cornmeal.
Yep.
It
Cornmeal
gives
noise.
it that really nice crispiness because it's a little gritty. In fact, I've made zucchini fries with it. So I'll take a little bit of cornmeal and then flavor it with whatever spices or rosemary or anything, and then roll your zucchini squares in it, like French fries. I cut it,
Ah,
and then
nice.
just instead of dredging it, I just dip it in that and then put it on a mat and air
And,
fried, and it tastes
and,
delicious.
and speaking of which, some of you may be accustomed to recipes where you dredge foods and they talk about putting an egg white or something like that. It's not necessary. If you need the moisture, use a little bit of water, maybe a little bit of vegan yogurt. But if you really want eggs, there's a vegan egg. It's called Energy Egg Replacer, or you can make your own with flax meal. So this product called Energy Egg Replacer, there's a recipe on the side how to make an egg white and egg yellow, and it turns out great. It's great in cookies and cakes
Right.
to
You
get.
could also just use aquafaba because that works
Right.
just fine. So
I've never done that, but that would be neat if you get canned chickpeas
Mhm.
and just kind of dip it in the thing.
That's how I
I,
make my zucchini fries. Is I cut them into little fry shapes and then dip it in aquafaba and then in the seasoned panko breadcrumbs and
Oh,
bake them
nice.
in the oven.
you know,
Delicious.
you know what's too
Nice.
bad, Carolyn? When I visited you in December, you were super busy because your daughter was getting married, so we never got to cook together in the kitchen. But we'll change that.
That's
That's
something I
fun.
was thinking, Dilip, that we three are close enough that we should meet up,
Mhm.
perhaps in Atlanta.
Yes,
And
Oh,
see
you should all
Atlanta's
come
right in the
here.
middle.
Italy. Road
Italy.
trip.
John, are you in Italy now or in Abu Dhabi?
I'm in Italy at the moment
Are you? How long will you be there?
until August 11th.
Ah, shoot, because I'm going to be there in October. Ah,
We're
oh
going
well.
back to Italy.
I am going back to Italy in October for a cooking school. I'm
Oh,
going to cooking school in Naples
where? Naples.
with Miyoko
Yoko,
Spinner.
good.
Oh
I
my
will be
gosh.
I am going to
Awesome.
Miyoko's cooking school. I feel like I already know how
Wow.
to cook, but I want to learn more from Miyoko. So
Well,
Oh,
I'm
that's
very
a
excited. Will you be
wonderful
making
journey.
cheese then?
I'm not really sure. I know we'll be making pasta, but we'll be in Naples, Italy for her whole it's a week-long immersion cooking school every day, hands-on. There's only 14 of us in the class.
Nice.
Wow.
Very
Wow.
excited.
How
But
wonderful.
getting back to Shoba, we should meet at Shoba sometime and have a fun
Exactly.
time.
And then John, and you just fly over to Atlanta. It's the biggest airport in the world. There you go. We'll pick you up.
I'll
You're
answer
taken
Hyacinth's
care of.
question about do you have to cook zucchini? No, you can make raw zucchini
Yeah,
noodles.
raw
and
zucchini is
they
great.
taste really
Yeah,
good.
like I said earlier, I do the spiralized zucchini and put raw and then put the peanut sauce on it, like a really good gingery peanut sauce on it. And it's like raw pad thai. It's delicious.
Yeah, and
Delicious. Yeah.
Kathy's comment about vinegar. Let me, Jana, can you read your list of people who've asked questions? Let's do a drawing and
So
make
I have
sure
a
we
question though. One of the questions was a suggestion. Do you want to count it as a question,
Yeah,
or
because we turned it into a question.
you want to turn it into a question? Then we have Lee Hay, Patricia Campana, Kathy Sabo, Grassroots Food and Bakery, Hyacinth Henry, Shirley Ann Mooney, Emily McGowan, and Janet Doe.
So that's our list.
I hope I haven't missed anyone.
We'll pause a moment and see if anybody asked that we didn't write your name down, or if your last chance to ask a question, and then we'll do the drawing. So the drawing today is going to be fun. So the first thing we'll draw is stainless. What's it called?
Spiralizer.
Stainless steel spiralizer.
Oh,
Right. The stainless steel
And a
spiralizer.
Veg News magazine.
And then we go back and forth offering a magazine subscription. They're both great magazines. This month it's Veg News, which is published, I believe, in California. I know Colleen Holland, she's the publisher, and it's a very good vegan magazine about vegan lifestyle. It doesn't always focus on health, so some of what they suggest may not be consistent with the way we cook, but it's all vegan, and it's a nice magazine. So let's last chance. Anybody else? So what I'm going to do is, can you count, Jean? And some of you know that I teach food nutrition. I also teach math. You saw some of my students on today, so I'm a math teacher. So hopefully I know how to count. I work with kids as young as 3 years old, actually. I tutor a 3-year-old, and we spend lots of time looking at counting and things like that. And I work
well,
with
you want me
students.
to just start counting?
Go ahead and tell me how many people are in the. So how
I
many?
have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people.
Okay, so you've assigned a number to each one because I want to draw a random number from 1 to 8.
I have assigned them.
Okay.
They're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, and 8.
So let me do that. I'm going to use random.org, and let's generate a number from 1 to 8. And the rule is I will let it generate a random number and say it generates 3. If it generates 3 again, then that person doesn't get 2 prizes, and we'll roll again. So let's see. The winner for the spiralizer is number 1. So
And
who's
that's
number 1?
Lee Hay.
Okay. So if you win, so let's say congratulations to Lee Hay for winning the spiralizer. And what you'll need to do, Lee, is you'll need to email Dilip at somanycooks.com and Karen at somanycooks.com, and we'll get you your spiralizer. So please confirm that you're here. You need to be present. So we'll give you a moment, Lee. Please confirm you're
And
here.
it was H-E-Y.
Did I misspell it? I'm sorry, Lee. So it's H-E-Y.
That's what I saw when the question came up.
Okay, so Lee, we'll draw the second prize and give you another moment to comment that you're here. If you're not here, we'll draw again for the spiralizer. So at the moment, Lee gets the spiralizer, but please let us know in the next minute or so that you're still here. Okay, so I'm going to make a second drawing, and the second drawing is for the Veg News subscription. Yay, Lee's there. So Lee, will you please send an email to Dilip at somanycooks.com and Karen at somanycooks.com, and we'll get that prize to you as soon as we can. So thanks. Congratulations on winning that. Let's do the second drawing, and that's for the Veg News subscription. And the winner of that is number 2.
And
1 and then 2. So who's number 2?
Patricia Campana.
Patricia, congratulations on winning the Veg News subscription. So Patricia, please email to Dilip at somanycooks.com and Karen at somanycooks.com. And let us know that you're here and that you will be doing that, Patricia. We'll give you a minute, and if you're not here, we'll draw again. So Patricia is the winner.
So our next show is on watermelon, right? There she is. Yep.
There she is, Patricia.
Yeah, we can talk about the next show. So the next show is on watermelon. So I'm thinking of making a watermelon salad. And
I know what I'm making.
And Shobha, we've not been lucky enough to get to work with you that often. I'm hoping, keep my fingers crossed, that you'll be in the next show.
Yeah, I think I can be there. Yeah.
Good.
I'm not traveling till the end of August, so I should be there at the beginning of August.
Excellent. And of course, Janan and Carolyn are regulars, so I know that you'll be there. So Shobha, what do you think you might make in the watermelon show?
When I cut a huge watermelon, my favorite thing is, of course, to eat the one half of the watermelon, and the other half, I typically make watermelon juice with mint and ginger.
Yeah.
That sounds
Yeah,
fabulous.
and it's refreshing. It's fabulous for the summer, So when I want like a treat, something sweet, something cold, it kind of, falls under all those categories, ticks the box on all those things.
Right.
You know what I've been doing recently? We had a lot of watermelon, and we're going to get more. Is my daughter and I like making lemonade. So what we do is we take carbonated water and we put some fresh lemon juice, and it needs some sweetener. We add maple syrup, a little bit of maple syrup, and mix it. It's so good. So what I've been doing is I've been making watermelon soda. And what I do is I take watermelon, put it in my blender, and I blend it, and I put some frozen cherries in with it as well. And then I mix in some carbonated water. And if I wanted more carbonated, it dilutes the flavor. So then I add a little bit of maple syrup to bring the sweetener back up. But the maple syrup isn't necessary. So watermelon, frozen cherry, and carbonated water. It's so good.
Sounds great. To try that. We have a lot of watermelon. I'm making something that my daughter requested, which I thought sounded extremely weird. So I tried it already. I have made it once before just to make sure, and it's actually really good. I was shocked. It is, do you know what a poke bowl is? A Hawaiian poke bowl?
Right.
So poke bowls traditionally have raw tuna in them. So you use the watermelon as the tuna. It is marinated in things like low sodium tamari and ginger and that kind of, and rice wine vinegar. And it's marinated for several hours, and it does have kind of a tuna flavor, especially if you put in like crumbled up, what do you call it? The seaweed snacks, crumbled seaweed snacks or nori sheets, those kind of things. Put, dulse flakes or something like that with it. Wow, it's really interesting. But I made it for my husband the other day, and he loved it. It had shredded purple cabbage and edamame and all kinds of stuff. So it was really good. So yeah, we enjoyed that. So I'll be making poke bowls, watermelon tuna poke bowls.
Shannon, what are you thinking of making?
I'm not. I haven't decided yet.
Okay.
I need time.
Okay, I bet there's really good watermelon available in Italy.
Right. Yeah, it is the season. They're everywhere. Actually, I had a friend staying here, and she had bought a watermelon and not used it, and it was beginning to get bad. So I cut it and didn't want to eat it, so I gave it to our donkeys, and they loved it.
I didn't know donkeys would eat watermelon.
So I gave each one a half. They basically hollowed it. Each one used their own half, and they hollowed it, and it was a riot watching them eat it.
Oh my goodness! I had no idea donkeys would eat watermelon. That's so funny.
So smart. Yeah. So nice. They know what sweet is. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
One other thing that came to mind with watermelon was this friend of mine in Florida. He has 2 young children. And for his daughter's first birthday, they made watermelon cake.
Ooh.
So they stacked up different size discs of watermelon. And it was conical and tall and looked like a birthday cake.
Wow.
But it was just slices of watermelon, and on each step, the little overhang that it has there, he put blueberries on it or something dark colored something. So it looked really pretty. If I can get that picture out, I'll try and get that picture.
Wow.
That's the first birthday. Imagine a first birthday for a baby is a watermelon cake, so cute
and healthy.
That's so cool.
I used to be a professional photographer, and I found it really weird because I wasn't familiar with this tradition. We certainly didn't do that, but sometimes I'd photograph, newborns. I used to teach a class in newborn photography, and so at the hospital. So a lot of times people who have 1-year-olds, they give them like this luscious cake, and they get them really dirty, and they take pictures. I never knew
Cover
that.
themselves with it. Yep.
I didn't like that.
Have you done that, Carolyn?
With my youngest,
studio,
we did that. We lived here in Alabama when she was born. That was kind of an Alabama thing. And so, yes, I have a picture of her just in a diaper covered with cake. It's hilarious.
That's like wedding parties when the bride and groom smear it on each other's
Oh,
faces.
no, I know.
I think
Yeah,
watermelon would be much more welcome to be smeared on,
exactly.
Watermelon's so luscious.
It's good for your skin as well, I'm sure.
Is it? So we started this some time ago. Kathy asked this question about how to buy watermelon. We will no doubt include this in the next show. So Karen is a real expert at ingredients, Karen Osborne. So she filmed a whole episode just about melons. And she talked about how to pick melons. And I always learn so much from each of you. So from Karen, she taught me that when you eat watermelon, not the rind, but the white part between the rind and the flesh, that's a source of what's called citrulline, which is one of the few common sources of citrulline. And what it does is it increases your nitric oxide, which then dilates the blood vessels and allows blood to flow a little bit better. So she recommends when you eat watermelon, leave a little bit of the white part on. You won't really taste it. It doesn't have much flavor, and it adds to the nutrition.
Nice. I have something just popped to my mind about when we were talking about making rice flour or other flours at home. When I have to make a very small amount, I use my coffee grinder.
Ooh.
So it works really well.
Good idea.
That's what I use for my flax seeds as well.
And what I use is the new Vitamix has, I think you have it, Carolyn, has this very small cup. And
Yes, tiny little one.
Did you know they don't make it anymore?
Vitamix recalled some of their attachments, and
Really?
one of mine got called back. But I have
I
to
need to look
deal
that
with
up.
it when I go back to Abu Dhabi because
Do you have yours
I
handy,
their-
Carolyn?
I think it's here in the cabinet. Let's
I
see.
love the small cup. It's great for grinding spices. Do you have one?
I
Shobha?
have the
Very small
tiny
cup.
one. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
about this big.
Yeah,
Little
that's
bitty
great.
one.
Yeah, I have that.
Yep.
Do you
I
have
hope
a
this
Shobha?
wasn't recalled. This wasn't recalled, was it?
Well,
Oh.
its sister got recalled because I bought that and the tiny one at the same time, and the one I
Yeah.
bought was like making smoothies. It's a small, like it's about
Yep.
2.5 times what you have.
I think I have that too.
That,
20-ounce jar.
that
Call
got
it 20-ounce
recalled.
jar.
Uh-oh. Okay. This is just like 6 ounce or 8 ounce or
It's
something.
great.
Let's see.
Yeah.
It works great.
8 ounce. This is an 8 ounce container.
I wanted to mention with Kathy's comment, I try to buy organic as much as possible. I'm not as careful as Karen. I think Karen is 100.0%. I'm not 100%, but I'm trying to be as close as I can. But one thing, and maybe one of you or maybe Kathy or somebody knows, there's all these melons, like there's Santa Claus melon, canary melon, that are never available organic, and I still buy it. I don't buy it that often. They're just so tasty. So I'd love to know a source. There's an orange, it's called Orangeade melon, which is so good. I don't know why they're not available organic. They're so good. So
No.
you guys have any comments about that?
Are they grown in the U.S. or they're imported?
In the U.S.?
They're grown in the U.S.
Oh,
I've never heard of them. So
yeah, they're so good. I've never heard of Kathy's asking about the beast. Do you guys, Carolyn, you have all sorts of devices, and so does Shobha, actually.
the
You should
beast,
see
I'm
Shobha.
gonna Google that.
And she has like everything you could imagine in her kitchen.
I don't think I have something called the Beast. That I don't have. So
Kathy,
yeah.
if you can send a link or some more information.
Yeah, I'd love to see
You
what
don't
that
know
is.
about that. Do you know about it, Janin?
I'm just Googling it. It's there. It's on there.
I don't know what that is.
I've never heard of it until
I
just
just
now.
I use my Vitamix for everything, so I don't know. It's the Vitamix food processor, I don't know.
It's thebeast.com.
Yeah, I haven't
Interesting.
used that either. Yeah, I have a lot of gadgets. I know. They look,
Yeah.
yeah, when you come by next time, I can give a demo. I
Wonderful.
love my gadgets.
You have the most awesome kitchens. You have everything. Oh, look at that.
Oh, look at
You have
that.
a
Okay.
closet full of things if the
called
kitchens aren't enough.
the Beast Mini
Thank you.
Blender Plus.
Oh,
and
a
then it
mini
has also
blender.
bigger,
Okay.
but it has bigger things as well.
All I'll say about that is just be careful in buying appliances because they take up space. You want to buy high quality. And
Right.
so I know that there's lots of blenders available. I recommend if you can afford it to get a, if Kathy Hester recommends it. Kathy's a good friend of mine. Kathy's awesome. She lives
Oh,
near
okay.
me.
Then it's
The
probably
Beast
good.
also has bottles
Yeah.
and
Okay.
accessories.
Kathy knows more. I mean, all of us know a lot about appliances, but Kathy, at least I'll speak for myself, knows more than I do about appliances. So if Kathy
I-
recommends it, then I would go for it.
Okay.
I don't have too many.
In fact,
And
Kathy,
now
gave
that
me
I'm between two kitchens, it's pretty bad.
when I
Oh.
first started air frying, it was Kathy who brought it. She gets all these appliances for testing, and so she has duplicates. So she gave me one of her air fryers. So I got into air
Oh.
frying thanks to Kathy.
Nice.
So she comes to my Thanksgiving every year as well.
Hey, I
Yeah.
finally have an air fryer in Abu Dhabi because a friend was leaving, going back to the US, and I got it from her.
Mm.
So
So
something
Maybe that's the thing.
new in
Carolyn
my
and
life.
Shobha, you guys should do is come for my Thanksgiving one year.
That's what I was thinking. I was about to tell Carolyn.
Yeah, I'd love to do that. If it's not actually on Thanksgiving Day, then I could probably do it.
Well, we do have a pre-Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I would have to do it before that because I kind of have to be here with the family. So
Bring your family.
I mean, the whole family to North Carolina. I mean, there's a lot of us.
Mhm.
Well, let's
Awesome.
start to wrap
I
up.
may
We're
also
almost at the
pop
top
up,
of the
yeah.
hour. This was a very
Like to
nice
pop
show,
up.
and I loved all of your recipes, Carolyn. Your stuffed zucchini, and then the fritters. Shobha, I'd like to try that. Janin, I want to try because I make yogurts. I want to try some of what you did. Looks really exciting. So again, the recipes are available. We've published the recipes. Hopefully, we need to add your Shobha, but other than Shobha's, all the
Yes.
recipes are published. We'll add Shobha's.
Yeah, I want to try Shobha's. That sounds great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very easy to make. Yeah.
Love
All
fritters.
Let me know if you have any questions. Yeah, feel free to text me or message me or even call me. Okay.
Okay.
Don't forget, you can reach any of us by our first name at somanycooks.com, and they'll get to us.
Yes.
So thanks. Hope to see you guys in the
Thank you.
watermelon show. And let me mention the following show, the October show. Sorry,
September.
September.
August is watermelon. September is cruciferous vegetables.
Cruciferous vegetables. Yep.
Oh, lovely.
And I have to say, for those of you who are on, I want to reveal a secret. Is just a few weeks ago I was visiting Cody, and so we said, since we're together, let's do cruciferous vegetables. So we made a recording, and we'll show it in September. So I'm done. I know what I'm making in September. I'm making with Cody. We're making a nice cauliflower dish. But then, you know what we're thinking for October is the farmers market. We have a very nice farmers market. And I was talking to a mushroom farmer, and they're very interested in maybe having me there during our show, and maybe they could talk a little about different mushrooms, and we'd set up a little kitchen, and maybe I'll make a dish. So we haven't decided that, but I threw that out to all of you guys, and so maybe October will be a mushroom show. I'm not sure.
Depends on if I'm in Italy at cooking school or not. We'll see. But yeah,
Did you know-
most of our farmers markets shut down by the end of September. So although I think we do have one downtown that has a mushroom stall that's
Ours
open.
is year round.
Yeah, I wish ours were.
Did you know, Shobha will confirm that in India, some people don't consider mushrooms vegetarian. There are people who don't eat mushrooms because they consider it non-vegetarian. You knew that, right, Shobha?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I think more than consider it, I think the flavor and the taste and a little bit of chewy texture, I think that's what they consider it like that. But it's really technically not considered. It's just not traditional. It's not a traditional Indian vegetable, so they're not exposed to it also.
Right. And thanks,
October here is white truffle time. If I were here, I would have done something maybe with white truffle, but
truffles.
Why don't you stay in Italy an extra month?
There you go.
That would mean extra 2 months.
I know you love Abu Dhabi, but there's always a smile that you have, Jean, when you're in Italy. I know that. I think you like Italy even more than
well, I mean, I want to be with my husband. Here, I'm alone, so.
We can all visit.
But you're alone in Italy. It's Italy.
And now I went to the local market the other day, and they already had porcini mushrooms. They are so amazing, and they just make an amazing raw salad.
Wow.
Though mushrooms ought to be cooked a little bit. I always hear from our doctors.
Wow. Yes, we're not that's true.
But every now and then a little bit of raw mushroom, I guess, wouldn't be so bad.
Mm-hmm.
And I just reposted the recipes, so that's the link to the recipes.
There are some kinds of mushrooms you can eat raw and some kinds that have to be cooked, and I can never remember which one is which.
Neither can I. I wonder if porcini is okay raw.
I think that's right.
I didn't mention this, but we owe a debt of gratitude to Brenda Davis, my favorite nutritionist. She always puts a lot of effort, and I didn't realize this until this last week, but when she does our appendices, she shops and she creates new recipes just like we do, and she photographs it. So
awesome.
And I told her once that she should, because she asked me once, can I use this on my website? I said, absolutely.
Well, I wish she would join us once. That'd be nice.
Let's do that. Let's invite her. I think she would enjoy that.
Yes, that would be just awesome.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Have her as part of the Q&A, or we could do a show focused on her. She's written so many books. That's a great idea. Well, thanks everybody for joining us. Jean and Shobha or Carolyn, any last minute comments?
Nope. I'm looking forward to watermelon. Love watermelon.
Well, we'll see you guys. Thanks for joining us. Again, this was our 50th show, I think. So pretty cool.
I think that's right.
Very cool.
I've been in every single one of them. Carolyn, you missed one, I think.
No.
I said that the 50th is the silver jubilee. I found out afterwards that it's actually the golden. So we had our golden show. But I mean, maybe we can all be there when we do the 50th year.
I don't know. I'll be a little bit older the 50th year. Shobha's nice and young, and
well, maybe our 25th.
You might be there, but I'm older than you.
Maybe 25th. Our silver jubilee will be 25 years.
That's hilarious. Oh my gosh. I don't think I've missed any. I don't think, has John and I don't think you've missed any either. Have
I
you?
don't think I missed any.
No, I haven't missed any.
I've missed Q&A, but I haven't missed
Right.
shows.
Yeah, I've missed a Q&A before, but I haven't missed the.
Oh, it was Susanna.
Q&A is really late in Abu Dhabi. It's like at 1 o'clock in the morning, and I
Right after you're done cooking, you hang it up and go to bed, right?
I can't do it.
Grassroots Food and Bakery. Thanks for watching, and I'm glad that you enjoyed today's show. All right, we will see
All
you
righty,
next
guys.
time.
See you next
Bye.
month.
Wow.
Yes, see you next month. Bye.
Bye. Bye, everybody.
So many cooks in the kitchen, so many recipes to share. So many cooks in the kitchen with meals for you to prepare. We've got fruits and grains, veggies and beans, more healthy food than you've ever seen. So many cooks in the kitchen, plant-based meals to prepare. So many cooks in the kitchen with ideas we're happy to share.